Morning, Erwin. Dion Harper here. We met in October of 2017. I've had some ongoing issues with my neck. I was trying to resolve those issues via the public health system. I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. I was hitting brick walls, etc. So I felt the need to write a letter of concern to the hospital, and you responded to that letter, that letter of concern. We ended up organising a meeting just around the corner from my current location at a local hospital facility. I wasn't travelling too well at the time, so you left it up to me in regards to where we meet location-wise. I said, well, the closer the better, suits me, so hence around the corner. On the day, myself and a couple of family members attended the appointment. We ended up discussing a fair few things. My medications were discussed, my pain medications, the procedures at the hospitals, what was discussed at the hospitals, possible operation on my neck, that sort of stuff. We even touched base on my polite online activities re our climate change problems, and eventually we landed on you'll organise for me to go to a pain management clinic as an outpatient, and they'll try and figure out what's going on with my neck issues. So on the day, I thought, I was feeling pretty positive about it. You seemed like a pretty on the ball sort of chap. You sort of knew what you were doing, and straight down the line sort of stuff. So I was feeling pretty positive. I was hopeful. So I eventually attended the first appointment at the pain clinic, myself and another family member. It ran for about 2 hours and 10 minutes. And the first 2 hours, there was the pain specialist was there and two other psychology type folk. For the first 2 hours, all we discussed really was my online activities re our climate change problems, and I thought, maybe they have to discuss everything. So it is what it is. And in the last several minutes, we talked. I did a few laps of the room. And then the pain management specialist talked about my medications, and she swapped me from the over-the-counter medications that I was taking at the time. No prescription was required at that point in time. Do now, but not back then. And they started me on a slow-release patch. I'm on that same patch to this day, but it's a lot stronger dose. Years have passed since then. Don't really take anything else at this point in time except ibuprofen and the basic stuff. And then that was that. That was the end of the appointment. I ended up, it is what it is. I thought I'll keep going. Several months I attended the pain clinic. Every couple of months I'd turn up for an appointment, sort of thing. First time I went, I did a few more laps. Big auditorium sort of room they have there. We discussed my posture. That side of things. The next time I went, we talked about handrails and showers and the best ways not to harm myself or put pressure on my neck, etc. We talked about a bit of hydrotherapy. Every time I attended the clinic, climate change was brought up. Hand on heart, Erwin, part of the process, I don't know, but that's how it played out. No procedures were done, no tests were done, anything like that. It was just a few chats about a few different things. After several months, I decided I'll leave it at that, and I stopped attending. Another factor was a round trip to get from here to there was nearly 2 hours if there was traffic, and I had trouble, going 10 minutes down the road. Put my arms out in front of me, my neck goes sideways within minutes. Driving, typing, writing, any of it, it's a problem for my neck. So, after several months I ended that process, and since then my doctor's been managing the situation, or a couple of doctors, physio, acupuncture, doing everything I can, trying to live healthy, exercise, go for walks, etc, etc. And that's where I am to this day. Saying all that, my neck issue, and it's actually evolved, before I carry on, it's actually evolved. My neck is my lower back now, and pretty bad, and from my knees down I'm losing feeling, especially on my left leg. I actually went and saw a neurosurgeon at a private hospital not long ago. Somebody helped me out with it, but that's as far as it went, because I ran out of ran out of that. So this is kind of where I'm at to this day. Neck-wise, I'm just trying to manage it best I can. It's a lot worse, but it is what it is. Saying all that, I'm not actually reaching out to you on this occasion in regards to my neck concerns, Erwin. 3 or 4 years ago, I started having some breathing issues. I felt was quite bad. I was gasping for breath, sort of thing. It was bad enough for me to give up cigarettes, cold turkey on the spot. And I smoked for a lot of years, so it was a big deal. I didn't think I'd ever give up, but my breathing was affecting me enough. And another thing I did was I put my bed out in the lounge room. I reside in a publicly owned home, and the carpet in the bedrooms is very old. So I thought, maybe the carpet's messing with me. So that's another thing I did. I put the bed out in the lounge room, and I was sort of stacking pillows up and trying to sleep in a vertical, semi-vertical position, because the more I lay down, the more I started gasping. And if I go to sleep, well, I do go to sleep, but I tend to wake up not just gasping, but choking, as in, will I get my next breath sort of choking. I'm talking serious, hand on heart, hand on the Bible, Erwin. It's serious stuff. Sleeping in a semi-vertical position sort of helps out really that side of things, but overall my breathing issues are getting worse over time. So yeah, it's kind of where I've been at for the last few years until the end of last year. End of 2024, it got quite bad, my gasping, and I ended up at my doctor's one morning. Before I go there, I'll just explain one other thing. My symptoms and the fact that I'm talking to you right now. Right now, it's a sort of a case of I'll pick my moments sort of thing, and I've learnt to shallow breathe. If you can understand that, I've learnt to take shallow breaths over the last few years, so I'm sort of controlling a delicate situation, so to speak. But come later on tonight, atmospheric conditions, etc., it'll all change, and I'll be, really in trouble again. It's pretty much every day these days. And another side of it is, or the actual symptoms, how I feel. One part of it is, to explain it, I feel like I'm trying to get a breath, and halfway through that breath, it just stops, and I can't get another breath. It's quite bad. And another way of looking at it is, I feel like I'm in an out of control sauna, and I'm gasping for breath. If you've ever been in a really hot sauna, you'll know what I mean, sort of thing. So it's the easiest, maybe you can come up with a better way to explain it, but that's how I explain it. So yeah, it's kind of where I'm at the best of times at the moment. So yeah, end of 2024 last year, it got pretty bad. A few nights in a row, I ended up at my doctor's one morning, gasping for breath. Tests were done, blood works were done, my oxygen levels were okay, but I had a CK enzyme level problem. I was up around 1079, plus a little bit of chest pain, and I was feeling a little bit dizzy. So based on the symptoms, my doctor thought I was having a mini heart attack, basically, so they sent me off to the emergency department. So I landed at the emergency department, more tests were done, oxygen levels were okay again, CK enzyme issues were there. They did some x-rays, read my heart, read the pain stuff, etc. And within 3 or 4 hours they sent me home. We can't really pinpoint anything to warrant putting you in the ward. Except for they gave me a diagnosis, an off-the-cuff sort of diagnosis based on the symptoms of something called orthopnea. Well, you'd know more than me, but it's basically to do with the symptoms, lying down, gasping for breath, sort of waking up, bolt upright, gasping for breath, choking sort of thing. But that diagnosis didn't last too long. So yeah, went home on the day. Is what it is. Kept trying to push through, but at that point it was a bit of a light bulb moment, so I figured, I've got to try and figure this out. So I started looking at different things. I'd already given up cigarettes. Next thing I looked at was, I put my bed out in the lounge room because of the carpet, so I thought maybe this house is involved. I've lived here for a number of years. It's a publicly owned home. It's always had some mould issues on the ceilings, dew on the walls, dew on the windowsills, paint's come off all the windowsills, water damage sort of stuff inside the house. So I sort of started there, carpets, etc. And first place I looked was in the couple of years ago. They installed in the lounge room just in front of me here a new reverse cycle air conditioning heating system. So I had a look in there and riddled with mould, pretty bad. So next morning I rang up the maintenance department and they sent out a maintenance chap to give it a bit of a clean. I was hoping he'd do a deep clean, but he just used sugar soap, I think it's called. Gave it a bit of a spray with a hand bottle, a bit of a wet rag, gave it a bit of a wipe, vacuumed the unit out, and that was that. I did request, can you do a deep clean sort of scenario, because I'd looked it up online the night before, but he said no, he's not really authorised to do that sort of process, so he's done all he can do. But from that point onwards, I thought, I've got to factor in the house as well. So I started trying to contact the department that manages the house in regards to, look, I've had some breathing issues for a while now, and I'm starting to factor in that this house may be involved. I told them, sent them photos of the mould on the walls, the air conditioner, etc. And after a bit of back and forth, more than I anticipated, to factor in the symptoms and the scenario, eventually they organised for an inspector, a building chap to come out, inspector I guess, I wasn't sure of his exact title. He came out, nice chap, had a look around the house. He acknowledged the mould on the ceilings, the air conditioner, the dew on the walls, windowsills, etc. He also said there's definitely a problem with the carpet. It's just by eyesight. He said he can tell it's rotten through to the floorboards, and it's also most likely riddled with mould as well. He had a look at the air vents on the walls. He said, there's probably a problem there as far as blockage, so you're not getting any air circulation through the house, which is possibly the reason why you have mould and dew issues in the house. And he said, well, look, he'll write up a report and he'll hand it in, and he advised me, give him a couple of days, and then he advised me to contact the department that manages the house in regards to doing some maintenance work. So that's pretty much what I did. Again, more back and forth. That didn't overly impress me, but I was trying the best I could without pushing the situation. But I was in a dire situation. I still am now. But eventually somebody got back to me, and I actually, at that point, I had to get a local representative to contact the department that manages this property, to get involved to try and move things along as such. And eventually they got back to me and said, look, all right, we'll organise some work orders and do some work at the house. And I thought, finally, sort of thing, not to be, but that's how it is. So they told me that they'd put some lino in the lounge room, carpet in the hallway and bedrooms, installed 12 new air circulation vents in the walls, put a new fan in the bathroom, and some screens on the window, some of the windows. I'm not sure what that was about in relation to my breathing, but anyway. So I thought, okay, something's happening. So I was glad about that at that point in time. And there is more stuff involved, but I'm just doing a short version, Erwin. If you ever want to know the full details, I've written a timeline document which I'm always working on, as far as I'll make sure every little detail's in there at the end of the day. So if you ever want to know the other stuff, yell out. But eventually it was agreed upon. They'll do some work on the house, and the first contractor turned up, lino contractor. He started doing his job in the lounge room, and he advised me that it's going to take a few hours longer than he anticipated, because I have some soft floorboard issues here. He said he won't be able to use his nail gun to nail down the underlay, So he'll have to do it by hand because he'll damage all the floorboards with the nail gun. So I thought, no worries, no skin off my nose, do what you have to do. Do you want a coffee in the meantime or something? So he proceeded to do what he had to do. Then a couple of days later, the carpet contractors turned up. And I was a little bit curious, I've got to admit, at that point in time in regards to the soft floorboards issue. So when the carpet contractors turned up, I was ready with a nail. So when they pulled up the carpet, I quickly had a poke at one of the floorboards, and sure enough, soft as. So I understood at that point in time what he meant by soft floorboard issues. So the carpet contract, but I hadn't put any other dots together as yet. So the carpet contractors went ahead and did their job, installed the carpet, and a couple of days later, it was only a couple of days later, I was speaking to somebody I know, and I mentioned the soft floorboards issue. And straight away they got pretty serious with me, and they said, look, Dion, you've got to get that investigated straight away. Now, on top of your mould issues, now that you told me that, that's a bit of a hazard in regards to it's probably leaching chemicals and toxic environment for you to be breathing, so to speak, because of how they treat the timber floorboards, etc. And on top of that, it's a good indicator of rising dampness type issues under the house. So he said, you got to look into that, Dion. So straight away, all right, I'll take it more seriously, as in I'll get on it, so to speak. So the first thing that came to mind was when I first moved into this home, I did a walk around, have a look. I've just moved into a new place, so to speak. Well, it wasn't new, it was quite old even at that point in time. Have a look around, and I noticed outside sub-ventilation ports, they call them, helps with airflow under the house. It's all good on three sides of the house except out the back. It's always been like that. I always thought it was a bit odd, but I just thought it is what it is. 5 sub-ventilation ports are at ground level, like literally at ground level. At the time I thought a bit odd, but I was maybe it'll get flooded under the house. So and at the time I didn't think, because rising dampness type issues, I hadn't wised up to that sort of thing at that point in time. But I had wised up to, well, I don't want the house I've just moved into to flood, because of these the position of these sub-ventilation ports. The house is located at the bottom of a hill. There's houses behind me, and when it rains heavily, the water runs down the hill and sort of pools in my backyard and then flows down the side of the house and keeps going out to the street. So I thought I'll keep an eye on that just to make sure it's not flooding. So the first few times it rained heavily, I was out there with my raincoat, keeping an eye on things. Seemed all right, the water was pooling up, but it was sort of going around the house and kept going, so I left it at that. But dwelling on it these days, I suspect I missed that. It probably has been flooding over the years when it's heavily raining anyway. And beyond that, at the very least, I'd say, because it's at ground level, dew off the lawn, etc., has been, so dampness has been going under the house the whole time I've been living here. And to step into my backyard, you'd know that it's a very secluded, trees overhanging, dark, not a lot of light gets in there, so it's probably prone to the rising dampness side of things straight up. And another good hint in regards to that side of things, in a lot of ways I should have picked up on things a few years earlier. A number of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago at least, they installed a self-contained unit in the backyard for another tenant, and within a couple of years I started cleaning the outside of that unit for them, because it started getting mould on all the outside walls. Nothing on the inside. I asked to have a look on the inside, it seemed alright, but definitely on the outside. So I'd get out there with the hose and a big broom every couple of years, wear a bit of a mask, and give it all a bit of a wash down for them. Kind of spewing, I didn't take photos before the last time I gave it a good clean, but I have got photos. You can see the signs of it. In one section it's missing, so you can see it. It's there, and along all the eaves you can see it, but I wish I'd done it last year when it was just everywhere, sort of thing. So yeah, I've gotten to a point. I'd gotten to that once the soft floorboard issues had come up, Erwin. It wasn't a case of keep trying to fix the house. And sorry, I'm rattling on here at 20 minutes, Erwin, but I feel like I need to at least give you the basic version. Remembering I said there's a bigger story involved if you want to do the whole timeline. But yeah, once that point arrived with the soft floorboards, it was more about I need to get out of this house for my own well-being, based on what I've read in regards to soft floorboard side of things. It wasn't going to be a quick fix. As near as I could tell, they'd have to replace all the floorboards throughout the house to even get close to getting that sort of scenario under control. So it was more about trying to get in contact with the department that's managing this property and figure out, how to get me out of here. And another thing that I will bring up at this point in time before I finish it off is 5, 6 weeks ago, a little bit more, my breathing got pretty bad one night. I had to call an ambulance. They ended up taking me to the emergency department at one of the major hospitals around here. A few doctors were looking at me. Eventually, the main doctor, I'm pretty sure he was running the department, pretty cluey sort of guy actually, I felt anyway. He got involved. He did some ultrasounds on my chest. He was pointing out to the other doctors, you see that line there, see that line there, and he got me to do some breathing exercises, hold in and then breathe out, and then the raspiness on the end of it, and he'd go, oh, hear that? He was talking to the other doctors, that's restrictive lung disease. You're not sending Dion home tonight, he needs to be admitted. And that's exactly what happened from that point forward. They admitted me into the cardiac care unit. Pretty serious place by my recollection. It was, very unwell people there. In that situation, I felt like one of the lucky ones. So I was in there for 3 or 4 days. A lot more tests were done. Eventually, they retracted the restrictive lung disease diagnosis. I was trying to explain to them, shouldn't it all be, you've done the test twice, shouldn't it all be factored in based on his experience in the emergency department and the person that did the scan and everything while I was up here, nothing against them or anything, but they were very young. I would put his experience over their experience any day of the week sort of thing, but they didn't want to know that, well, we should factor it in side of things. So it was basically, no, we're going on this test, that one's being dismissed. That's that. We'd like you to basically go home. And I said, well, fair enough. What can I do beyond that? Outpatient test, anything. I've got a breathing issue here. So they said, well, we're not going to do much. What we will do for you is we'll organise a lung function test. So that's been done. Haven't got the results back, but it's been done. My doctor didn't bring up the last time. I had other things to talk about. I'll get to that in a minute. But anything else you want to do, you'll have to do it off your own back sort of thing. So I spoke to my doctor and got some advice. Landed on a gastroscopy procedure, may possibly bring something up, so I'm doing that in a couple of weeks. Somebody's helping me out with that. It's not something I can do off my own back, and somebody else is helping me out in regards to a MRI with my lungs, see what moisture's going on in there, etc., or if what's going on in there. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm full of mould or dampness or something, living in this environment for years on end. It's just eventually got to me. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out, Erwin. It is what it is. So yeah, getting back to, I need to get out of here, soft floorboards side of things. That's where I'm at the moment. Bit of back and forth trying to get a hold of them. Not much was happening, so I contacted the actual moving department, relocation department. Spoke to them. They said it can't be prioritised. You're just a normal case, so we'll send the paperwork out, which I did and sent back. But it may take several years for that process to go through. So I wasn't too happy about that. But eventually, the person I was dealing with at the department got back to me. It was pretty, because I'd contacted the local representative pretty sure I mentioned it before. If I didn't, I am now. But yeah, the representative got onto them, I think. So they got back to me and said, okay, what do you want us to do, sort of thing. We've done work on the house, etc. What else do you want us to do? I felt like it was a bit of a standoffish, on my back foot sort of chat. So I said, I just backpedaled a bit and said, no, hang on, this is a situation from my perspective. Initially, if we go back a little bit, when the inspector did the inspection, if he had picked up on the soft floorboards issues and the sub-ventilation ports, he would have stuck his hand up and we wouldn't have proceeded with any of the maintenance work, full stop. He would have shut the job down until it figured it out, re the health and safety side of things. And another point I brought up was when the lino contractor was here and he stuck his hand up and said, you've got a soft floorboards issue. As the professional that he is within his profession, in my mind's logic, he should have said, you've got a soft floorboards issue here, Dion. That's actually most likely a health issue for you, so I'm not going to install the lino. I'll contact my supervisor in the morning and I'll get them to send out the inspector again and we'll start from scratch. So I explained this to the person, my representative at the department. Oh, okay, what do you want us to do? So I said, well, back to what I was asking you to do is, could you please send out some priority paperwork in regards to relocating me? So they sent that out and I filled it out and I've sent them off. So that's where I am in the here and now on this day, waiting for that paperwork to come back and for somebody to give me a call about it. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm very concerned about my breathing. And as I mentioned, Erwin, very deceptive. I wouldn't read too much into I'm here talking to you. I've just learnt how to manage shallow breathing, picked my moment in regards to approaching you and recording this chat, etc. But it is dire, and I wouldn't be surprised if left unaddressed I hit the ground within a year or so. As in, I'm talking hit the ground. I'm not joking now, and I feel like it's very serious. So, hence all the fuss, all the this making this call. I'm quite concerned. I'm trying to figure it out, which gets me to that's where I am currently with the forms. And would it be at all possible, Erwin, for you to do me a solid and sort of jump in your car again and head out this way, and forget the down the road scenario this time? Actually, turn up at my place and knock on my door, and as quick as you knock, I'll welcome you in, offer you a coffee, etc. I personally drink water these days, but you'd be welcomed in, and would you be able to sit down with me and assess everything, top to bottom? I've read your, your bio, whatever you call it, with your career. I know you're good at what you do, both the medical side of things and the legality side of things. Now, I understand, you are who you are with your position within the community, etc. So it's not so much about the duty of care negligence side of things. I do feel I have to take note, read that side of things. Well, if I do hit the ground, all this dot point stuff, timeline documents I'm doing and everything. If I do happen to hit the ground, that's when my loved ones will take over and go, well, Dion was right, he's hit the ground now, it's a done deal, so we're going to look into the duty of care side of things. But that's not what this is about. It's more about your medical expertise and your position within our community, and I'd like you to assess the whole situation top to bottom and possibly nudge things along, as in firstly figure out, as in yep, that's what, via whatever tests. Okay, that's where we're at. Now let's get on with fixing the situation if it can be fixed. Based on a couple of times I've been out of the house, cardiac care unit, 3 or 4 days. Recently somebody did me a solid and got me out of the place for 4 or 5 days. After 3 or 4 days, the teensiest bit, I could breathe better in the rooms that I was staying in, etc. But as quick as I came back into the house, it got worse again. So I suspect it'll be a long-term process in any regards. It's going to improve for me breathing-wise. But I'm hoping that I can get out of here, get on top of the breathing, figure out exactly what's going on, and then get on with things, Erwin. And that's where you come into play. I hope, in regards to, do me a solid, jump in your car, head out here and knock on my door. It'd be appreciated, Erwin. And you and I both know I've been niggling away for a long time. It's no ill will intent or anything. I'm just looking for answers in regards to a few things. And I could go down the next side of things, but I'm not interested in that side of things at the moment. My biggest priority is my breathing, Erwin, straight up. So if you've sat through this chat for this, what are we at, 30 minutes, I tend to rattle on at times, don't I? But on this occasion I don't regret it, because it's an important subject matter from my perspective. So I hope you've managed to get this far. Appreciate the putting up with the air bashing side of things, and I hope I hear from you very soon in the future, Erwin. I'm quite concerned about the situation. If you happen to have lost my contact details, you should know how to reach me, your position within our community, and if by chance you can't figure it out, just yell out online in any way you feel fit to, and I'll discreetly get straight back to you and get my details to you, so as you know where to land. I'll leave it there, Erwin. I think I've taken up enough of your time for one day. Cheers. Thanks, Erwin. See ya.